Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next section of this of DNV's annual Maritime Energy Transition Conference. My name's Julian Bray, and I'm the editor-in-chief of TradeWinds, the global shipping news source. It's a great pleasure to be joined today by some influential and authoritative figures in the shipping world who'll share their experiences and opinions on some of the practical issues facing ship owners, operators, and shipyards as we grapple with the challenge of cutting carbon emissions to limit the impact of climate change. May I welcome Ioana Procopiou, the CEO of Sea Traders, which is part of Greece's Dynacom Group, one of the world's largest independent ship-owning groups, and Mr. Li Yangqing, Secretary General of the China Association of the National Shipbuilding Industry, otherwise known as CANSI. No one can not be aware of the impact of climate change in the world around us today, from small changes in the local environment to catastrophic events, climate events in many parts of the world. And just in the last couple of weeks, it's been recorded that the world's average temperature last year was now 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial levels. That's significant, as it's the threshold which climate scientists believe is the tipping point for a spiral of true climate calamities. It's now undisputed that driving this change is man-made greenhouse gas emissions. And last year, total greenhouse gas emissions, in fact, hit a new record, recent statistics revealed. And shipping emissions itself were up over 4% to over 1 billion tons on a well-to-wake business, according to reputable estimates. This wake-up call has just come as shipping arguably is finally starting to get to grips with the issue. Last year, some 50% of all new ship owners orders had alternative fuel capability, while carbon pricing for shipping services is now law in Europe. Low carbon fuel technology is being rolled out, energy-saving technologies are commonplace, and nations are set to sign a landmark agreement at IMO to price carbon on a global basis. But the challenges for individual ship owners remain. In this period of evolving technologies, rules and fuel supply, how to create a credible and viable business plan, how to preempt future risk but avoid stranded assets, how to make investments at the right time in the right technology, energy-saving retrofits of existing craft or new buildings. So let's dive straight into that question. Could I ask, turn first to Ioana Procopiou of Sea Traders. Ioana, how are you grappling with the challenge of creating a commercially viable strategy that's balancing short-term compliance requirements with long-term competitiveness and environmental ambitions?
Hello, Julian. Thank you very much for your kind introduction. Listen, in my view, customer demand and customer, obviously, we need to comply with the changing environment, and that is being more environmentally friendly. And our obligation to the environment and to the future generations that are to come. So we have to definitely balance that with with having seamless operation when it comes to trading, because what we don't want to do is disrupt the trading patterns and the supply chain. And this is going to be a very annoying topic when it happens. And we say, okay, in order to comply with the new environmental regulations, okay, you're going to get your goods twice a week instead on a daily basis. So I think we need seamless operation. And we need to be more environmentally friendly when it comes to consumption of our ships. How do we comply with that? I think by contracting the most environmentally friendly ships. Ships built today are by design 25 to 30% more efficient than the ships built in the previous 15 years ago. So this is what we can do today using the technology that we have in hand, and obviously keeping our eyes in the future and how we can utilize and how we can be part of the new projects and the new alternative fuels that are going to be coming into the supply chain. But one thing we need to bear in mind, that when we're talking about alternative fuels, we have to have seen for those fuels that they do have a proven environmental benefit with a long-term horizon, that they are sustainably sourced, that they are readily available around the globe. Because as you know, we are bulk players, we're trunk players, which means we go everywhere in the globe where our customers need us to go. And unless we have the ability to bunker those alternative fuels, we won't be able to complete our voyage. And one thing we need to bear in mind is that these fuels need to be safe to handle and use, as some of the alternatives that we're discussing today are toxic and very hard to handle. And then it comes the element of pricing. So who is going to pay for the price gap? There's huge difference between the prices and the energy content of the fuel that we're using today compared to the fuel of the future. And the final thing is that they have to have a lower greenhouse gas for the emissions for the whole range of the emissions, not just carbon dioxide.
Jana, thank you very much for making those points, particularly around the supply and the cost issue, which are in many ways yet to be resolved. Let's turn to Li Yangqing, the Secretary General of the China Association of the National Shipbuilding Industry, representing China shipyards. I'm sure everyone is aware that Chinese yards last year delivered over 50% of the ships that were built and took over 70% of new orders, of which around 50% had capability for alternative fueled engines. Mr. Li, how are the shipyards able to support this transition on behalf of the ship owners and ship operators that are attempting to drive?
Okay, so you know that the China shipbuilding industry has achieved a very great achievement, and now we have the 2/3 of the market share. So we can say that China now is in the leading place for the global shipbuilding industry. So but the challenge is the same. For the green transition, there's still a lot of problems for shipyards. I believe, in fact, during the implementation of short-term emission reduction measures, shipyards are mostly passive. For most of the time, the innovation has been driven by regulation, I believe. However, the situation is different now. The EMO strategy has been updated. The targets are very clear, so there's more consensus, especially now China is now playing a big role in the global maritime. So that's to say the global maritime industry also has a high expectations for Chinese shipyards in this case. What I know is that most of the Chinese shipyards have formulated or published the green development strategies or development plan, among which the main focus is on the building of green shipyards. From the Chinese government to industry associations, for example, RCANSI, we encourage and certify the green shipyards. So this year, RCANSI will further promote new actions in the industry's green and low carbon development, especially while paying close attention to finding good international cooperative partners to establish a low carbon development ecosystem. It's very important. So only Chinese shipyards can play the great role to finish this green transition totally. So that's why we need more partners together to form the green transition ecosystem. So that's a key point. Thank you.
Thank you. Jano Prokopiou, going back to the question of managing the situation today and the cost of investment. Clearly, new buildings are priced at a premium today, not only for alternative fuel vessels, but also for general vessels. The price is as high as it was back at the peak of the market in 2007. So a lot of attention has been put on energy-saving technologies. Saving fuel saves emissions. What is your approach to that question and the allocation of funds to retrofit existing ships to reduce their emissions?
I think in this situation, it's the environment's benefits are on the same page as the savings of the biggest expense for ship owners and charters, which is the cost of fuel. So there is alignment of needs and interest in this topic. I think when it comes to retrofits, one thing to think about is what is the life of the remaining useful life of the ship that you're trying to retrofit? How expensive is the retrofit or the energy saving device that you're planning on installing? For example, now we're changing in all our ships, no matter the age, when they go to dry dock, we use silicone paints, and we've seen a big reduction in emissions and much better sailing through the water when it comes to these anti-fouling, silicone-based anti-fouling paints. We put ducts in some cases where the in all of these cases you need to do an analysis to see what's going to be the benefit, because in order to it costs to do these retrofits, and you need to have some sort of proven payback time for those as well.
Thank you for that, Mr. Lee. Turning over to the question of technology of to burn low carbon, no carbon fuels. What is the role of innovation and collaboration across the shipbuilding space like from China's perspective? You are leaders in many technologies, but how important is building collaboration between partners in the shipbuilding chain?
So I believe the 2 points. The first is about the application of the energy-saving technologies. I believe that most of the Chinese shipyards will consider the different compositions about the air lubrication systems or air assist systems or the high-efficiency propellers, and also the other technical measures together to provide the holistic solution to support the ship owners' needs. The second point is about the optimization of the design of the cabin, especially for the alternative fuels. That's very full of the challenge for the ship designers and also for the shipyards. We will consider these 2 ways to combine or comprehensively using the different solutions to support. So nowadays, I believe the first point is the main focus to have the more applications of the energy-saving technologies. That's it.
In many other industries, there are end date clauses being put on fossil fuel technologies. You look at the vehicle market, the consumer vehicle market in Europe, and even parts of the freight market. Mr. Lee, do you think that Chinese shipyards would be willing participants in putting an end date on fossil fuel engined ships in the next 10 or 15 years, similar to that which is being rolled out in the vehicle market as electric vehicles are developed?
Okay, so that's a good question. In China, we have many discussions, and sometimes very, I believe that the debate, different scientists, engineers from shipyards, from the power solutions, energy solutions companies, they will debate. For example, if you come from the internal combustion engine factories or companies, you will always defend your position, your technical position. But if you come from the battery producers or from the dual fuel cells producers, you'll say that in the future, well, maybe that's all the electrical driving the vessels. So just now you mentioned, perhaps in the future we will have another scenario that we have the vessels powered by battery or electrification. So I think that's perhaps be the very promising future. So for Kansi, we support these 2 ways, because we cannot throw away our shot. We need to seize the opportunities, because in China we have a accumulate some experience in the automobile, the vessel, the cars. So I think that's true now. But in the near term, I don't think that this will become the reality in the ocean-going ships. But for the coast shipping or inland navigation, I think that'd be true. Yeah.
Liana, could I put to you the question of advice to smaller ship owners, particularly perhaps in your home country, Greece, of course. Over the last year, statistically, it's become apparent that bigger shipyards have been investing in newer ships at a faster rate than smaller owners and at a faster rate than historically. What are the particular challenges would you see for smaller ship owners in dealing with the role of managing the energy transition and the rising regulatory demands for lower emission ships in the face of these very high new building prices? Oh, you're on mute, I'm afraid. Sorry.
Good question. But I will jump a little bit back to the previous question about if we can have an end date for the conventional fossil fuels. I think that it would be risky to try and abandon conventional fuels prematurely. And even though the goal is to slowly phase out fossil fuels, the path to the future is complex and is a little bit uncertain, as there's no proven technology right now that is safe, available, and economically makes sense in order to replace fossil fuels. And I think that there has been a lot of improvement in new, highly efficient engines that run on conventional fuels. And this is what we've been doing as a company, as a group. All of our new buildings are with much more efficient engines, but they are of conventional fuels. Going back to your second question, which has to do with the regulatory burden that is being placed upon owners, I think it's going to be harder for everyone to comply because there's just going to be a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of jobs created in order to keep tally with what the EU ETS requires from you, what the fuel EU is requiring from you, and what the global fuel standard that's going to come into force in the next few years is going to require from you. Also, transportation to and from Europe is going to be very expensive. And if you make something expensive, the thought process was that we're making conventional fuels expensive in order to make alternative fuels more attractive. The problem is that the alternative fuels are not available in the scale that we would have hoped for them to be, and they're not as efficient in order to be burned. You need to have another vessel with a different engine, and that comes back to the issue of availability, worldwide availability of those alternative fuels, plus the cost, etc. So I think that with the with the EU ETS, what we're going to see is that countries are going to be benefiting a lot of money, that some of it will be invested back into the shipping industry for research or for pilot programs or for decarbonizing the existing ships. But the majority of it is going to go back to the countries, and we're not going to see, if you pollute and you pay, you don't take the pollution away. So unless there are tangible outcomes of this payment system, I think it's just going to be an economic burden for everyone, and it's going to make transportation to Europe and trading with Europe quite expensive. Now, who's going to fit the bill at the end? Is it either going to be the end user? But the ship owner is not going to subsidize the trade, and that I think is, it's a fact.
Could I just follow up on that question of the cost and supply of fuel, which is the old cliche of the chicken and the egg, is often cited in this. What can come first, the demand or the supply? In a report last year, the Getting to Zero Coalition looked at the fact facts, and while technologies are there, and even quite a few of the ships are coming, the supply is behind the trajectory for the 5% ambition, the 5% target, and certainly the 10% ambition of low carbon fuel by 2030. Europe, as you said a little earlier, very much involved in the global tramp trades. Now, some of the deals that have been done to incentivize production of fuel have been done in effectively line trades, even bulk line trades, where there are end-to-end services. Can you envisage that for genuine tramp trading that a lot of your ships are involved with, that low zero emission fuels will be available at scale inside the next decade, or is it likely to be further off than that?
That's a good question, Julian. It's $1 million question. But having said that, unless you have a dual fuel ship that can burn up both the alternative fuel and the conventional fuel, if you build a pure alternative fuel burning ship, you're stuck, because you have to supply the ship with this alternative fuel. Yep. So I am not sure that we will be able to find, I mean, you could potentially be able to find this sort of, as you said, for the liner trades that have a specific route, and then you can secure the quantities you need. The price as well is going to be an issue, because I don't know what, depending, as you know, a lot of ships are being built with not a lot of projects to supply those ships. So the price is always going to be an issue, and the availability. Now, for a pure Trump operator, I think it's going to be almost impossible. And just to give you a magnitude of scale for the cost that we're talking about, let's say you wanted a very large container carrier would need 36 wind turbines that cost about 1.1 billion and have an OPEX of 100K a day in order to produce enough quantity of green methanol, which is 400 tons a day, that this ship needs to be operated if you want it to be with green methanol. So the numbers we're talking are insane. So
indeed,
I don't know. I think the numbers
challenging at best. I think it's what I say. Mr. Lee, we're coming towards the end here, but just one final question from your perspective in China. Could I ask, how does the low carbon, no carbon shipping, and particularly shipbuilding, the building of ships that emit low levels of emissions, how does that fit with China's overall decarbonization strategy?
Okay, that China has our own strategy about the peak to peak in 2030 and the carbon neutral in 2060. So it's a long time strategy. So it's a overarching guide for all our sectors. So for our shipbuilders, it's also aim to this target, to step by step to take the measures to realize the different stages goal or targets, and based on our efforts, especially our technical solutions. So just now I mentioned, now we have the green shipyards and the green enterprises of green companies. So government, local government, central government, and also our associations will facilitate our policies, our opinions to all our members. Let them to have their strategy, have their development plan, and also take measures to cover all the emissions, including the VOC and including the, the electrification, something like that. So step by step, it's a strategy for our shipbuilding industry. So I believe that we'll have the great achievement maybe 5 years later. Right.
Thank you. I asked that question just to set up really a final question, which I think it would be unfair not to refer to. In recent days, we've had the inauguration of the 47th President of the United States, Donald Trump, for a second time, and he has signed an executive order withdrawing from the Paris Agreement on climate change. Effectively, the US is withdrawing its commitment to net zero in 2050. I know this is very early and this isn't a political discussion, but what is your feel for the impact on the debate and activity in the shipping world of the new US administration's role in this debate, if you feel comfortable in discussing that? Jana, could I ask you first?
Listen, it was very recent that the new U.S. president was inaugurated. But what I can say, I mean, remains to be seen. He's always been pro-drilling, pro-fossil fuels, doesn't like to follow what the rest of the world is saying when it comes to the environmental aspects of it. But one thing we can say from not being in the U.S. is that for any change to be successful, we need stability. And if with every coming and going administration, we have a different stance of, the US is a superpower, so is China, and unless there is some sort of stability in their position, it's going to be very hard to draw some sort of this is where we're going, this is how it's going to be done, etc. Because it's easy to not to ridicule, but when you have a plan, the countries need to adhere to it. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. So that's my take. But as I said, it's very early for us to say what is the long-term effects of this will be of this presidency. Indeed.
So it's more the uncertainty than the fact at this stage. Mr. Lee, could I ask you from your perspective in Beijing?
To deal with the climate change issue is, we have already talked and take actions for many years. So it's a very high priority of the international or global governance issue. And for the shipping industry or maritime industry, now we are on the track to decarbonization. So I think that's most players here will still stick to this strategy, but maybe some different discussion or ideas usually exist. Just that's to say the pathway. So I think that's it's good for to defend our planet. So I think it's a right way now.
Do you believe China can be a global leader on climate?
Oh, I'm not sure, but China is always very strive to realize our own target for the 30-60. So I think that it's a commitment to the international community. I think all the sectors in China will follow our strategic targets of our nation. So.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. And to all our speakers this morning, many thanks for your contribution. I hope it's been enjoyable for the delegates watching out there. And with that, I'd like to hand back to the DNV studio. Many thanks.